28 years ago, an unimaginable crime shook the small town of Poplar, Montana. A beautiful 17-year-old girl murdered, her brutally beaten body found floating face up in a river. Tonight, the man in prison for that crime claims he didn't do it, and witnesses say the real murderers still walk free. Others call Barry Beach a cold-blooded killer who should spend the rest of his life behind bars. And tonight, you decide. Did Barry Beach kill Kim Nees? We want to warn you, some of the images you're about to see are of a graphic nature and are not intended for young viewers. A News Channel special report, Shadow of a Doubt.
In the summer of 1979, 17-year-old Kimberly Nees had just graduated as valedictorian of Poplar High, a small school on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation. A favorite with classmates, she was voted most sensuous in her senior yearbook. Pretty and popular, she seemed to have it all.
She was probably always willing to go an extra mile for people. She just got along with everybody.
Kim was wealthy and white, the niece of a state senator, one of the few who had enough money and privilege to escape Poplar. Barry Beach grew up on the same block in Poplar, but on the other side of the tracks. Barry was a mixed-race teenager in a town where racial tensions ran deep. At 17, he was already battling a bad temper and a fierce addiction to alcohol.
I did a lot of fighting when I drank. Growing up on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation as a breed, as I am, fighting was something that came into my life at an early age.
But what happened one warm summer night would bind Kim Nees and Barry Beach forever. On the last night of her life, Kim drove her father's pickup truck to this closed gas station on the edge of town. Sometime after 1, Kim left the gas station and drove to a popular party spot down this dirt road near the milky green Poplar River. Kim's life ended here, and investigators say the last minutes were terrifying. Someone beat Kim to death, striking her head with a metal tool more than 30 times, then dumping her body into the Poplar River. 5 hours later, after sunrise, police found her fully clothed body floating face up in 2 feet of water, her skull literally crushed. She had not been raped, but the viciousness of the attack told former Sheriff Dean Malum this was a crime of passion.
It was pretty obvious to all of us that were involved that there was some real emotion that was involved.
Investigators found chilling clues. A blood-soaked seat in the cab of Kim's truck, a bloody palm print on the passenger door, a large pool of blood and hair on the ground, a clear trail where Kim's body had been dragged, beer cans and footprints near the river where she was dumped.
But none of those clues, the blood, the beer cans, or the fingerprints, added up. And even after interviewing hundreds of people, investigators were still stumped. Until 3 years later, one of Kim Nees's former schoolmates made a shocking confession.
I don't remember at any time, making up my mind that I'm going to give them a tape-recorded confession.
Barry Beach was visiting his father in Louisiana 3.5 years after Kim's murder, when he was arrested for another crime. While in police custody, authorities learned Barry had been questioned in Kim Nees's murder. Thinking he might be more than just a petty criminal, they dug in. Under pressure, Barry confessed. Barry told police he met Kim at that gas station on that June night. The two drove to the river, drank beer, smoked marijuana. Barry said he tried to kiss Kim, but she repeatedly refused.
I claimed that I grabbed a 12-inch chrome crescent wrench. Inside of the vehicle, I began to hit her.
Barry said he hit Kim and hit her again, over and over. Kim tried to escape, but he tackled her near the driver's side door. Then he began choking her, this time grabbing a tire iron from the bed of the truck. Barry said he didn't stop beating her until Kim was barely breathing. She died moments later. During his interrogation, Barry signed at least 4 waivers saying no one forced him to confess, and authorities say Barry revealed details only the murderer could know, like why there was no blood on the trail between the pickup and the river. Barry said after he killed Kim, he put her body in a garbage bag and dragged it to the river.
This was the first time that anyone had supplied that kind of information. This is why there isn't blood on that trail.
Barry also said the last time he saw Kim's purse, it was next to the passenger's side door, right where detectives found it hours after the murder. Most people knew Kim had been beaten to death with a crescent wrench. What the public didn't know is that some doctors believed her attacker may have also beat her with a tire iron, just like Barry said in his confession. To top it off, Barry had no alibi the night of the crime, and 3 days after the murder, he threatened to commit suicide. With Barry's confession, prosecutors had no trouble proving their case in court. A jury found Barry guilty, and the judge sentenced him to 100 years in prison. Because of the heinous nature of the crime, he was given no chance of parole.
But this seemingly black and white case is full of shades of gray. Now, as Barry sits in prison, he has new hope.
I'm convinced of his innocence.
Centurion Ministries, an innocence group that has already set 38 wrongly convicted people free.
From day one, I've looked at this case as something that just shouldn't have happened, shouldn't have come out this way.
They say this case is full of holes, starting with Barry's confession. Barry says those Louisiana investigators forced him to admit to killing Kim, locking him in a small room for hours, taking turns demeaning him, threatening him, praying with him, and describing the horrors of Louisiana's electric chair.
He started telling me how when a person is electrocuted, that the first thing that happens is that their hair begins to singe and catch on fire. And then he told me how their eyeballs pop out of their sockets because of the power of the brain cooking. And he told me, he says he can't wait to see me go through that process because he said I deserve to die. And it was at that point that I just broke down.
Barry's lawyers say that confession actually proves Barry didn't murder Kim because the facts he gave were dead wrong. Barry confessed that he choked Kim, but medical examiners say Kim had never been choked. Barry also told police Kim was wearing a brown sports jacket and plaid shirt when he killed her, but she was wearing a blue and red blazer and a white sweater.
When you start taking apart the confession, you soon realize this guy wasn't there. There are too many things that he gets wrong, and there are too many other pieces of evidence that just don't fit.
Remember the bloody palm print on the side of Kim's truck? It does not match Barry or Kim. None of the fingerprints in the truck are Barry's. Neither are the footprints. In fact, investigators could not match a single clue at the murder scene to Barry. Barry says that's because he didn't do it.
I didn't kill Kim Nees. I know that I wasn't there when Kim was killed.
But during Barry's trial, prosecutor Mark Roscoe convinced a jury that Barry was there. He told jurors that a hair expert identified a pubic hair on Kim's sweater as Barry's, but that was not true. In reality, the hair expert, Arnold Melnikoff, only said the hair was similar to Barry's. Melnikoff is now infamous. 3 years ago, forensic experts deemed him incompetent. His inaccurate hair analysis sent 2 innocent Montana men to prison. Those men were later freed. And there is more to this story. Barry says he met Kim alone at this gas station before he killed her, but witnesses tell a different story. No one in Poplar ever saw Barry here that night. What one witness did see, though, was Kim driving towards the river minutes before she died, her pickup full of people.
There was at least 5 or 6 in the cab. Someone was sitting on someone's lap.
Other witnesses have come forward with an even bigger bombshell, claiming a group of girls killed Kim that night out of jealousy. Centurion Ministries identifies those girls as Sissy Atkinson, Maud Greyhawk, and Joanne Jackson, all girls who went to school with Kim.
Over the years, these girls have told a number of people that they were involved in the murder, told a number of people that they were down there. We have an eyewitness.
That eyewitness was 10 years old when Kim was killed, living in this house overlooking the Poplar River. We are protecting his identity for safety reasons. In a signed statement in 2002, he says he heard a girl screaming the night of Kim's murder, so he snuck down to the river and watched Sissy, Joanne, and Maud taking turns hitting Kim with a tool. He says Barry Beach was nowhere to be seen. And 150 Poplar residents have signed statements claiming someone else, not Barry, killed Kim Nees.
So who killed Kim Nees? Was it Barry Beach, angry that she refused his advances? Or was it a group of girls jealous of Kim's money, beauty, and popularity? These questions will be the focus of a clemency hearing for Barry Beach.
We will bring the truth and the honesty to this case that it has never had.
Centurion Ministries has enough evidence of Barry's innocence that Montana's Board of Pardons has agreed to hear the case. But there are still unanswered questions about the night of the murder. Much of the evidence is gone. Anything that could be tested for DNA has vanished, and memories have faded. But the state of Montana is ready to defend Barry's conviction.
There's absolutely no question in my mind that Barry Beach was the one that committed this homicide.
The state claims no evidence puts Sissy, Joanne, or Maud at the scene of the crime. They don't believe the claims of the 10-year-old eyewitness because his house is 400 yards from where Kim died. They say it would be impossible for him to hear her screams. And when an FBI agent tried to give him a lie detector test, he admitted he made the whole story up. And remember the man who says he saw Kim driving toward the river with a group of people? The state says his story doesn't wash. Police interviewed Richard Holen right after the murder, and he never mentioned seeing Kim. If the Board of Pardons agrees with the state, Barry could remain in prison for the rest of his life. If they agree with Barry's lawyers, Governor Brian Schweitzer may get the chance to set him free. Barry's had 23 years to imagine that moment.
I would love to go home to my family. I'm 45 years old today, and I have no children. I have no career. I have no white picket fence. And I've not been able to fulfill any of my dreams about what life should be.
Barry's clemency hearing was supposed to be this Thursday, but the board has asked for more time to review the complex case. Once they do hear Barry's case, the board can set him free, shorten his sentence, or keep him behind bars for the rest of his life. Now that you've seen our special report, Shadow of a Doubt, we want to know what you think. Who killed Kim Nees? Was it Barry Beach or a group of jealous girls? And what do you think should happen to Barry? Email us at news@keci.com. We'll share your emails later this week on the News Channel. And we'll be back in just a moment.